In boxing, the final bell doesn't close the story, it opens the next chapter. The second a fight ends, the focus shifts instantly from what just happened to what comes next. And for Daniel Dubois, that shift carries real weight right now, because he's no longer just building his name, he's positioning himself in the division. This is where things get serious. Dubois isn't operating in the background anymore. His performances have pushed him into a space where every move matters, where every opponent isn't just a fight, but a statement. The division is watching. The contenders are circling. And suddenly, the question of who's next isn't casual talk, it's a decision that could shape rankings, rivalries, and title paths. That's what makes this moment so important. Because the next step isn't just about staying active, it's about direction. Does he take a high-risk fight to prove dominance? Does he target a specific name to break into the elite tier? Or does he position himself strategically for a title opportunity? Each option sends a different message, and at this level, those messages matter. And the pressure is real. Because now, expectations are attached to his name. Fans want bigger fights. Analysts want clarity. Opponents want opportunity. The margin for error gets smaller, and the spotlight gets sharper. This is where careers are defined. Not just by what a fighter has done, but by what they choose to do next. Because for Dubois, the conversation isn't just about possibility anymore. It's about legacy in motion. The choice of Dubois' next opponent isn't just another step, it's a pivot point. At this stage, one fight can either accelerate everything he's building or complicate it in ways that are hard to recover from. That's the reality of operating near the top. Every decision carries consequences that go beyond a single night. It's a delicate balance. A high-profile opponent offers immediate rewards, visibility, credibility, and the chance to make a statement that echoes across the division. Beat the right name, and Dubois doesn't just win, he arrives. He forces himself into bigger conversations, closer to titles, closer to defining fights. But that reward comes with real risk. Because those opponents aren't just names, they're dangerous, experienced, and capable of exposing weaknesses under the brightest lights. One misstep at this level doesn't just slow momentum, it can shift perception, change narratives, and alter the path forward in an instant. That's why this decision matters so much. It's not just about who he can beat, it's about what that victory means. Does it prove he belongs at the very top? Does it answer lingering doubts? Does it move him closer to a title, or simply keep him in contention? At this level, smart matchmaking isn't about avoiding danger, it's about choosing the right kind of danger. Because for Dubois, the next opponent won't just test his ability. It will define the direction of everything that comes after. There's nothing simple about choosing the next move at this level. It might look like a straightforward question, who's next? But behind the scenes, it's a calculated decision shaped by a web of factors that can pull in different directions at the same time. Rankings play their part, of course. They determine positioning, eligibility, and how close Dubois is to a title opportunity. But rankings alone don't dictate reality. Availability matters just as much. Who's ready, who's willing, who brings value to the table right now? A perfect opponent on paper means nothing if the fight can't be made when it counts. Then there's strategy. This is where things get even more layered. Dubois and his team have to think beyond the next fight and consider the bigger picture. Is the goal to fast-track toward a title? Build momentum with a calculated matchup? Make a statement against a recognized name? Each path comes with its own risks, its own rewards, and its own timeline. And that's where it becomes complex. Because every option carries consequences. A safer fight might protect momentum but raise questions about ambition. A dangerous opponent might elevate status but also threaten everything built so far. Timing, risk, reward, and long-term vision all collide in this one decision. It's not just matchmaking, it's career shaping. And in an environment where multiple paths are open, choosing the right one isn't just important. It's everything. One clear path is to build on the momentum already in motion, not by chasing the biggest possible name immediately, but by choosing an opponent who allows Dubois to sharpen his strengths, show visible improvement, and stay firmly planted in a strong position within the division. It might not sound dramatic, but it's smart. Because at this stage, consistency can be just as powerful as risk. A well-chosen opponent gives Dubois the platform to perform, to look sharper, more complete, more dangerous than before. It's about sending a message without overexposing weaknesses, about proving that recent performances weren't a one-off, but part of a steady rise. And that matters. Because in a division where narratives shift quickly, staying active and effective keeps his name in the conversation. It reinforces his trajectory. It builds confidence. Not just internally, but externally, with fans, analysts, and potential future opponents who are watching closely. But there's a flip side. This kind of approach has to be handled carefully. If the opponent feels too safe, the narrative can turn just as quickly, with questions about ambition or readiness for the next level. At this point, it's not just about winning, it's about how you win, and what that performance says about where you're heading. So the balance is key. The opponent needs to be credible enough to matter, but manageable enough to maintain control of the trajectory. Done right, it keeps everything moving forward, clean, calculated, and aligned with a bigger plan. Because sometimes, the smartest move isn't the loudest one. It's the one that quietly strengthens your position before the real risks begin. The other path is far less cautious and far more explosive. It's the decision to step straight into the spotlight and chase a high-profile fight that instantly raises the stakes. This is where Dubois doesn't just build momentum, he risks everything to accelerate it. Because fights like that change careers overnight. A big-name opponent brings attention, credibility, and the chance to make a statement that echoes across the entire division. Win that kind of fight, and Dubois doesn't just move forward, he jumps levels. Suddenly, he's not being mentioned as a contender, he's being discussed as a real threat at the top. But that kind of leap comes with real danger. At this level, high-profile opponents aren't just recognizable, they're seasoned, tested, and capable of turning one mistake into a defining moment. There's no easing into it, no margin for hesitation. It's pressure from the opening bell, under the brightest lights, with everything on the line. And that's what makes the decision so powerful. It's not just about ambition, it's about timing. Choosing when to take that risk, when to step into that kind of fight, can define how a career unfolds. Too early, and it can derail momentum. At the right moment, it can transform everything. Because this path isn't about playing it safe. It's about making a statement so loud that the entire division has no choice but to pay attention. Fan interest isn't just background noise, it's a driving force that can shape which fights actually get made. At this level, it's not only about rankings or logic on paper, it's about demand. Which matchup gets people talking? Which fight feels must-watch the moment it's announced? Those questions carry real weight in negotiations. Because attention equals value. Promoters and organizers aren't just building fights, they're building events. And the fights that generate buzz, debate, and anticipation naturally rise to the top of the list. If fans are calling for a specific matchup, if social media is pushing it, if the narrative is already alive, it becomes much easier to justify making that fight happen. And that can shift priorities. A technically sound matchup might make sense for progression, but a high-interest fight can sometimes take the lead simply because it captures the public imagination. It creates energy before the first punch is even thrown, and that energy translates into bigger stages, bigger audiences, and bigger opportunities. For Dubois, this matters. Because being part of a fight that people want to see doesn't just elevate the moment, it elevates his profile. It puts him in conversations that extend beyond the ring, connecting his name to excitement, to anticipation, to something that feels important. But it's a double-edged sword. High-interest fights bring pressure along with opportunity. Expectations rise. Scrutiny increases. And once you step into that spotlight, every performance is judged at a higher level. Still, in modern boxing, momentum isn't built on results alone. It's built on attention. And the fights that capture that attention are often the ones that shape what happens next. timing is the invisible factor that can make the perfect fight either happen or fall apart. On paper, there might be ideal opponents, compelling narratives, and clear paths forward. But if the timing doesn't align, none of it matters. Because in boxing, availability is everything. Fighters have their own schedules, recovery periods, negotiations, and obligations. One potential opponent might be tied up in another fight. Another might not be ready physically. A third might be waiting on a bigger opportunity. Suddenly, the best option isn't actually an option at all. And that's where things get complicated. Promoters have to align dates, venues, broadcast deals, and multiple moving parts behind the scenes. One delay can shift everything. One missed window can push a fight months down the line or cancel it entirely. So the decision isn't just about who makes sense, it's about who makes sense right now. For Dubois, that adds pressure to the process. Because momentum in boxing is fragile. Wait too long, and the spotlight fades. Move too quickly, and the risks increase. The challenge is finding that perfect moment when the right opponent, the right opportunity, and the right conditions all come together. And that moment doesn't stay open for long. That's why timing isn't just a detail, it's often the deciding factor. Because in a sport where everything is constantly shifting, the best move isn't just the smartest one. It's the one that can actually be made when the window is open. From a wider lens, this decision isn't just about Dubois, it's about the ripple effect across the entire division. One fight at this level can shift momentum far beyond the two names on the poster. It can open doors, close others, and quietly redraw the map of who's next in line. Because key matchups don't exist in isolation. When a contender faces a high-ranked opponent, rankings can tighten or completely reshuffle. A win can fast-track someone into title contention, while a loss can stall. Or even reset a career. Suddenly, new names enter the conversation, and others are pushed to the side. It's a chain reaction that changes the landscape in real time. And then there's the narrative. Certain fights create stories that carry forward rivalries, rematches, unfinished business. A strong performance doesn't just answer questions, it creates new ones. Who deserves the next shot? Who got overlooked? Who's now a real threat? These questions drive the division forward, shaping what fans, promoters, and fighters want to see next. That's why this choice matters beyond the individual. Dubois isn't just picking an opponent, he's stepping into a position where his next move could influence multiple careers, multiple opportunities, and the direction of the heavyweight picture itself. Because at this level, one fight doesn't just decide a winner. It helps decide what the division looks like next. Ultimately, who's next isn't a simple question, it's a defining decision. It's the point where a fighter stops reacting to the moment and starts shaping what comes after it. For Dubois, this isn't just about picking a name, it's about choosing a direction that will echo through the next phase of his career. Because every option tells a different story. One path says patience and precision, build, refine, and arrive at the top fully formed. Another says ambition. Step into the fire now and prove you belong among the elite. Neither is wrong, but each comes with consequences that go far beyond a single fight night. And that's where the weight of the decision really sits. It influences momentum, perception, opportunity, how fans see him, how opponents approach him, how the division responds to him. One fight can open doors to titles, rivalries, and defining moments. Or it can delay them, reshape them, or redirect the path entirely. Because in boxing, careers aren't just built on victories. They're built on choices. And this is one of those moments where the choice doesn't just determine what happens next, it helps define how the story will be told from here on out.